Muy buenas tardes, bienvenidos a este nuevo espacio de encuentro con los maestros y maestras de primaria y secundaria en la enseñanza del inglés a nivel nacional. Hoy tenemos nuestra masterclass número 15, la última de este año para este esquema de masterclasses que han impactado y beneficiado a miles de maestros a nivel nacional y que realizamos en alianza con el British Council en Colombia. Este proceso de masterclasses se desarrolla en el marco de contacto maestro, donde aparte de las conferencias y masterclasses que desarrollamos en inglés, hay conferencias y procesos que se desarrollan con otras organizaciones y que ustedes pueden consultar el cronograma en contactomaestro.colombiaaprende.edu.co. Estas masterclasses hacen parte de un esquema de desarrollo profesional que ha diseñado el Programa Nacional de Bilingüismo en alianza con el British Council, con el Centro Colombo Americano y con diferentes organizaciones, donde precisamente hemos beneficiado a más de 3.000 maestros a nivel nacional y que se compone de varios elementos. La primera de ellos es estas masterclasses. Cerca de 2.240 maestros han participado en las masterclasses en vivo, recibiendo su certificado una vez que han participado. Ustedes también el día de hoy, si se inscriben, más adelante va a aparecer el link donde se podrán inscribir, van a poder recibir un certificado de participación de esta masterclass y han diferido cerca de 40.556 reproducciones han tenido nuestras masterclasses. Este formato se diseñó con dos propósitos principales. Bueno, yo diría que tres. El primero de ellos era un formato innovador y dinámico, corto, sustancial, concreto. El segundo de ellos, que sea pertinente para el sistema educativo. Los escuchamos el año pasado a viva voz y a nuestros maestros en el marco del regreso a la presencialidad. Nos reclamaban muchísimo que cada vez más estas conferencias aterrizaran al contexto y por eso mismo tenemos invitados especiales que pues más adelante estaremos presentando y que hacen parte de nuestras instituciones educativas a nivel nacional. Aparte de las masterclasses, tenemos un esquema que pues está compuesto de acompañamiento pedagógico uno a uno a los maestros, donde profesionales de la enseñanza de inglés se reúnen con nuestros maestros a implementar precisamente las diferentes técnicas, instrumentos y herramientas que se presentan dentro de estas masterclasses. Por supuesto, también tenemos nuestros clubes de innovación, donde 300 maestros a nivel nacional han conformado unas mini redes de trabajo basados en la metodología de Design Thinking para resolver problemas de enseñanza y aprendizaje del idioma a través de procesos de innovación que es tan importante en la educación en el sistema nacional. Por otro lado, tenemos nuestros programas de enseñanza de inglés con objetivos específicos, donde trabajamos con maestros en el desarrollo de metodologías que permitan acercarnos a ese concepto de inglés funcional, sobre todo en educación media, para grados 10º y 11 a nivel nacional. Y por último, nuestro curso de inglés que este año benefició cerca de 600 maestros a nivel nacional y directivos docentes. Creo que una de las conclusiones principales de este esquema de desarrollo profesional que inicia su proceso de culminación a través de esta masterclass es que trabajamos en equipo con nuestros maestros y maestras de todo el país. Creo que esa es una palabra muy importante, un término muy importante. Si el inglés tiene que ser ese vehículo de comunicación e interacción, no podemos negar que tenemos que trabajar en equipo. Y trabajamos en equipo con nuestros maestros en este momento tan retador que fue el regreso a la presencialidad en el marco de una pandemia, en el marco de una emergencia sanitaria, en las condiciones que implica no solamente regresar a una presencialidad para repetir lo que ya pasaba antes de que pasara esta pandemia, sino también para repensar todo lo que se entiende por enseñanza y aprendizaje del idioma y no desaprovechar los recursos. Quisiera hablarles un poco de los temas que hemos tratado en las masterclasses. En las masterclasses hemos manejado 4 temáticas a nivel general que tienen que ver con el uso de recursos, el fomento del desarrollo de competencias socioemocionales, que es importantísimo para la enseñanza y aprendizaje del idioma, todo lo que tiene que ver con la enseñanza de inglés para chicos y chicas de primaria y, por supuesto, toda la enseñanza de inglés para adolescentes, que principalmente se centran en secundaria y en educación media. Fueron 15 masterclasses y hoy la cerramos con broche de oro con un invitado muy especial que se trata de Ricardo Romero, a quien estaremos presentando también más adelante. Aparte de estas masterclasses, nosotros lanzamos un ecosistema digital y análogo de recursos educativos con el fin de cubrir el 100% del territorio nacional. Lanzamos este año precisamente de la mano con el British Council 2 programas de radio, uno para niños y niñas de 6 a 11 años que se llama Eco Kids, que no es un curso de inglés, es un formato de edu-entretenimiento que nos permite acercarnos a la enseñanza del inglés a través de las historias, a través de los recorridos por las riquezas culturales y naturales de nuestro país. Y en el caso de Eco Teens, particularmente con el tema de proyecto de vida, donde ese canal de oportunidades que representa las lenguas extranjeras precisamente requiere un trabajo muy particular. A través de la radio llegamos a rincones donde nunca antes el Ministerio de Educación había llegado con programas, y no solamente con un programa de radio, sino también con todo un programa educativo que trae guías de aprendizaje, guías para los maestros en la presencialidad y que se combinan perfectamente con lo que pasa y debería estar pasando en los hogares de los niños, ese aprendizaje autónomo. Lanzamos nuestra plataforma EcoWeb, gracias a nuestra alianza con el British Council, con la Embajada de Estados Unidos, con Peace Corps. Seguimos trabajando de la mano y en equipo con todos los aliados que le apuestan a la enseñanza y aprendizaje del inglés para disponer de un repositorio de más de 3.000 contenidos educativos que se pueden descargar de manera libre, que los maestros los pueden utilizar en sus clases, los pueden imprimir, copiar sin ningún problema, porque pues esto le pertenece a todo el país y pues colegios privados y públicos están muy invitados a que consulten eco.colombiaaprende.edu.co. Nuestra aplicación digital Be the One Challenge, que no la lanzamos este año, hace parte de este ecosistema digital y análogo de recursos educativos, pero ya se ha convertido en una estrategia que ha impactado a más de 315,000 estudiantes que han descargado la aplicación digital. No solamente los estudiantes la han descargado, sino con el British Council precisamente hemos acompañado a cientos y miles de maestros en el uso y apropiación de esta herramienta para tres cosas fundamentales. Uno, para gamificar el aprendizaje de los estudiantes. Dos, para generar una cultura de la evaluación formativa. Y tres, para generar un impacto a nivel institucional en lo que tiene que ver con cultura de mejoramiento, que poco a poco, desde grados cuarto hasta grado 11, impactará positivamente en términos de resultados de nivel de idioma a los estudiantes a largo plazo. Y por último, pues nuestro esquema de desarrollo profesional Inspiring Teachers, que es el cierre de ese ecosistema que invita a todos nuestros maestros a trabajar en equipo, a aprovechar estos recursos, pero también a hacerse partícipe de estos escenarios de capacitación y de formación que ofrece el Ministerio de Educación y que tienen ese mensaje principal de que nuestros maestros son los agentes más importantes dentro del sistema educativo después de los niños, niñas, adolescentes y jóvenes, por supuesto, y que por ser esos agentes tan importantes tenemos que trabajar de la mano en brindarles recursos, herramientas y escenarios de capacitación, trabajo colaborativo y, por supuesto, liderazgo. Por último, quiero invitarlos particularmente a que mañana, 27 de octubre, tendremos a las 10 de la mañana nuestra tercera descargatón. Queremos agradecerles a los cientos de miles de niños que han participado en nuestros retos, el reto Registratón, donde los colegios con mayor porcentaje de estudiantes registrados según su matrícula recibirán un incentivo que consiste en estos Special Agent Kit, que ya mañana les estaremos contando de qué se trata. También el reto de baile que nuestro presentador Juanse Quintero compartió por sus redes. Y por último, un reto que el día de mañana estaremos presentando a las 10 de la mañana. Recorrimos todo el país en diferentes regiones, en diferentes instituciones educativas para mostrar que esta herramienta puede convertirse en una herramienta de aceleración de aprendizajes, en una herramienta complementaria a la presencialidad, a una presencialidad que no puede ser la misma, una presencialidad que tiene que estar basada en la interacción, la práctica del idioma y que todos estos recursos que les mencioné hagan parte del hábito que se conformó después de esta situación que hemos vivido, pero que también trajo unos recursos muy importantes al sistema educativo que antes no existían y que ya están a la mano de todos los maestros y maestras del país. No hay excusa para no utilizarlos y ya sin más preámbulo pasaría a hablar de esta masterclass que se va a desarrollar en inglés. En un segundo haré el switch a inglés. Esta masterclass se titula How to Foster Leadership Skills While Learning English. And I'm going to switch into English and I would like to welcome Ricardo Romero, our main presenter. Ricardo, hello.
Hello, Charlie, and thank you very much. I am really impressed with all the positive things that are happening in Colombia in education and particularly in the Programa de Bilingüismo. I am really, really proud to see how many things have happened since those days.
Thank you very much, Ricardo. We are honored. Ricardo has been my teacher for a long time. I'm really glad to have him here. And I hope that you enjoy this masterclass that is really important because leadership is the key to make English that vehicle of communication and interaction that we need in the education system. Thank you very much, Ricardo, and the audience is yours.
Carlos. Go ahead. Thank you. It is a pleasure to be with all of you today. And before we start, I would like to dedicate this presentation to a teacher of mine. When I was a student in the public sector in a school that was located in Escuela Bravo Paez in Bogota back in 1969, I know that many of you were not born yet. I had a teacher in 5th grade, and his name was Professor Alejo. I wrote a letter to him, and I would like to share that with you. I did my fifth grade with you at the Escuela in Bravo Paez in Bogota. I was in a class of around 54 other students. You don't know this, but you saved my life. I was a timid student, a scared kid who was not able to see somebody in the face. Uh, but when I met you, I was looking to the floor, and you took my hand and you asked me to look to your eyes and to shake hands. We did that. And then from the very moment, you gave me a few responsibilities and you showed me that I could do things. And you congratulated me in front of the class when I did something good. And you prudently told me when I was wrong and invited me to do something else. As a 12-year-old, you were really happy when I organized the Teachers' Day back in those years. And I gathered some coins from my classmates. We put together 12 pesos, and with those 12 pesos, we bought some funny porcelain in a nearby supermarket. You gave me the courage and you showed me that it was important to have dignity, and you showed me that I was important as a student. I fell in love with teaching when I saw you teaching other people. And you also taught me about respect of every human being and respecting for the differences. So I want to thank you, dear Profe Alejo. I dedicate this presentation to you because in this presentation, I will try to share some of the things that I learned from you in showing all the teachers that through education, we can change the world. But if you keep the students with a language, that is even better. And it is even much better if you equip the students with the full possibility to be great leaders ready to change the world. So the picture that you showed that you can see there is actually in my class at how it looked at those times. I know that the schools in Bogota have changed dramatically, and that little boy that you see there, it's me. So thank you, Professor Alejo, for the inspiration.
Okay, good afternoon. It is a pleasure to have the chance to be with you this afternoon, sharing the very last masterclass of this wonderful series that we have shared with all of you throughout this year. Um, Now it's the turn for us to present our guests and the people who will be with us during these 2 hours full of knowledge and really interesting opportunities and information about this topic of leadership. I would like to start by introducing myself. My name is David Vallejo. I am a project manager at the British Council. I studied English philology at the Universidad Nacional, and then I also had a chance to study a master's in educational technology at Tecnológico de Monterrey. I'll be your moderator for this session. And now I would like also to introduce our guests. Our first teacher is Ángela Díaz. She's a teacher at the Institución Educativa Departamental Santa María, Villa de San Diego de UBAT. Ángela, welcome.
Okay, good afternoon for everybody. So I am so really happy that the invitation. And yes, I work in the Institución Educativa Santa María that is located in the Villa de San Diego of Ute, and it is near to Bogota. It is a town of Cundinamarca. I have 8 years for experience in the teaching, and in my school when I work I teach English, and the school is only for girls. It is the school has an agreement with the Senate because we have some students that have the skills of the business skills, and we have some projects of being for the lives or for the towns, and we have a research group in our school, and this is about the intercultural and interchange between other countries.
Thank you very much, Angela. I also would like to highlight something. We have more than 100 people right now online with us taking part of in this masterclass. We also have some people who have already said hi to Ricardo. I think you're quite a famous person here, Ricardo, in the chat. Now, I'd like also to introduce the second teacher who will be with us in this session, and that's Paola Aguilar. She's an English teacher at Jorge Eliezer Gaitán High School in Florencia. Paola, it's really nice to have you here.
Hi, David, and hi, everyone. As David said, my name is Paola. I'm an English teacher in Jorge Eliezer Gaitán High School in Florencia, Caquetá. And I teach 10 and 11th grade students in a school that has an English emphasis, in which my students can take 10 hours of English per week. And well, I hold a bachelor degree in English language teaching from Universidad Surcolombiana, and also a master degree in education from Universidad de Medellín. I'm currently doing a PhD in a Chinese university also.
Great. Thank you very much, Paola, for your presentation, your introduction. And last but not least, we also have Jonathan Alexis Flores. He works at La Juventud High School in Bucaramanga. Jonathan, it's wonderful to have you here as well.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It's so nice to be here. Well, I belong to this amazing community called La Juventud High School. It is a small school. I really love to work there. There is a great environment to learn and to improve. So we have been teaching there for more than 6 years. We have a beautiful team, always looking for new strategies to learn, to be developed leadership.
Okay, Jonathan. Thank you very much for that. And of course, as Carlos previously said, we have Ricardo Romero with us, and I'd like to share something as well. I do also share something with Carlos. Ricardo also was my mentor and teacher back in the days. And as you can see here, there is something I like to highlight about Ricardo's profile. And that's something I share with him. His primary studies, he had his primary studies at Escuela Distrital Alianza in the south of Bogota. His high school at the Institución Educativa Restrepo Millán, and then 5 years in philology and languages at Universidad Nacional. So we could basically say that he's a result of the public system, and that's something that I share with you, Ricardo. It's really nice to have you here with us as well.
Thank you, David. And also thank you to Angela Maria, to Paola, and to Jonathan from UBAT, Florencia, and Bucaramanga. It is great to be able to present and at the same time to make the connections with those realities in the classroom today. So, David, tell me what comes next.
Well, so I think we're going to get down to business now. We're going to start with the very first section of our program today, which is challenges and opportunities.
Well, now this is time to begin to work. And whenever, I mean, you in the audience now, if you see this hashtag here, it means that this is a moment to interact. Whenever you want to send information or questions or comments, please feel free to do so. We have somebody taking care of that, and I will have a summary of those questions or comments that you send. And so this is a very kind invitation so that we make this a very interactive session, okay? That is the first thing. The second thing is that I also am going to, because I cannot ask 200 or 300 people now, I'm going to be asking people, my three teachers who are here, and sometimes even David, to participate with me, just to give you an idea of how we could also extend the interaction with you. So the first thing that I wanted to do is to ask my guest professor teachers in UBAT, Florencia, and Bucaramanga about one student that they can think about. One student, what does he or she look like? So that we can begin to create a definition of leadership. So over to Angela Maria. Angela, would you like to start by sharing some of those ideas?
Okay, I consider that a leader student has two characteristics. So the principal are two. The first one is about the communication. It means that the student has to listen the opinion, the interest, the problems, the challenge of the other people, in this case of their classmates or the educational context. And the second one is about the confidence. It is important because sometimes the students think that they don't have abilities, that they don't able to do something. So it's important that this student or the leader student has is able to create or to think about himself, and has the possibility of doing different things or transform the context.
Super, great. And Angela, what you are giving me is a very important element, your ability to communicate. That is one of the reasons why we are talking about promoting leadership in the English classroom, because it's about communication. Very good point. And also the idea of confidence. A student can feel confident if they are given a safe environment to do so. Great 2 points. Now, Pau, can you share a little bit about that person that you're thinking about?
Okay, right now I'm thinking about one of my students, and I consider that he's a leader because he always wants to participate. And this student is also very active in the classroom. This student seems to be motivated most of the time. He always wants to find solutions to the problems that we face in our schools. So that's why I consider that he is a leader.
Great, thank you. I also wanted to tell you that I agree with you in that participation is very important. When we begin to analyze the process of helping students become leaders, it is very important to pay attention to those students who normally participate, but also be very careful with those that don't participate, to see what is happening and how we can get them involved into the tasks and give them the confidence to begin to participate. And of course, Jonathan, if you can share your experience in La Juventud.
Well, I think it's the kind of a student that already has lost fear, specifically to ask questions, maybe to the teachers, to others. So it's about what Angela said about communication skills. Also, it's already like ready to take risk. Maybe it's one step ahead. Maybe it's looking for more information, for more knowledge, always asking why or how. So it's quite interesting to see all these qualities, all these descriptions about a leader student.
Sounds very much like what you would call a critical thinker, because a
Eh,
person who is always asking those additional questions, why, what is the reason, what is behind that. Thank you. I think that those are elements that definitely help me put together the definition of leadership. So now that you talked about these examples of students in your schools in different parts of Colombia, the next thing is what is leadership for you? And audience, if you want to share your definitions in the chat, we would love to begin to read some of those definitions. So let me ask now Paola and see if you can share what will be leadership for you.
Okay, for me, leadership is the act of motivating and also inspiring others to follow what you are doing, and also to inspire others to help the community. So to interact and work together.
Wow, very two important points. Motivation, a reason to do things. So is I'm promoting the inspiration to begin to act. Thank you. And Jonathan, what about you?
Well, I think for me, leadership is a mindset. It's a mindset of someone who already know that failure is an opportunity to grow. It's a challenge to face. Also, I was looking for a lot of information about leadership, and I really love this phrase or this quote with Dwight Eisenhower. They say that leadership is the art of getting someone to do something you want done, but also that wants to do it. So it's like an influence or influence someone to do something, but not only because you want, also because that person wants to do it. So I found that perfect.
Very good point. And this particular quotation is also very powerful, because as you said before, it is not only your desire to have something done by somebody, but also giving that person the ideas and the reasons and the motivation for them to also want to do it. So I also like that contribution. And Angela Maria?
Okay, for me, the leadership is the opportunity of leave a mark or transform the context, because it is a skill that, the opportunity that allows that we can change the lives of the human beings. It is an opportunity to do different things, and we have as a teacher to develop these skills in our students. And this is a good opportunity for doing or for create opportunities that the students can change his environment and transform our city, our country, our family. And the leadership is not the person that has a lot of money, that it is a leadership or leader is a person has good ideas, and in order to put these abilities in service of the other people, of the human beings.
Marvelous, marvelous. Thank you for mentioning that. It's the difference between just instructing people about subjects like English or mathematics, etc., and equipping the students with the tools so that they can transform the world. Some people talk about the students as the future of Colombia, but that is something that I don't like very much, because they are the present too. And you can begin to make changes now from the classroom, from the school, from the homes where they live, from the communities, etc. So thank you very much for your contributions. Let's see what the other people are saying. Just to give you an idea of some of the words that we have collected so far. They talk about leadership, and they talk about influence, positive influence. They talk about roles, responsibility, management, inspiration, the trust, the encouragement, the authority, the social willingness to change, the decision-making capacity, etc., etc. I think that those elements just give us an idea of how to come up with a very good definition of leadership. But I love your definitions, and I know that people in the audience are beginning to have some elements to say, okay, good, I agree, I would add this, I would change this. So keeping that in mind, why would you say that this is so relevant? Oh, sorry, before we go into this, David, I was wondering if you have any comments at this point from the audience, and I also want to know where they are and who they are.
Rick, we've got several really interesting comments. I like to share some of those with you. We've got Gloria Inés Jurado, who says, hello, Ricardo, in the chat, as well as Rosa Lopez. They are just saying hello. And we've got a fan here, as I can see. Santiago Liscano says, you're the best teacher, Paola. Then Mary Morales, talking about the very first hashtag you share with us, Ricardo. He or she is participative, talkative, and loves to ask. Gloria Inés Jurado also says she always tries to help others, even the teacher, and also has a very good English level. Andrea Medellin says she is collaborative, talking about leaders. Aurastela Guzman says she is outgoing and is able to communicate her ideas and help others in the class. Talking about the second hashtag, which was leadership is, John Pulido says leadership is a set of skills that work together for motivating or influencing others to take action. Mary Morales says leadership is being analytical and look for new information. And also Carmen Cecilia Cota says leadership is being a good influence in the school. So those are just some of the comments we have. We got comments flowing a lot. So yes, like that's it.
Super. And are we representing the communities in Colombia today? How many cities are connected today, or little towns?
Yeah, well, let me just have a look at that really quick. So yeah, that's absolutely right. We've got people from Villa Gorgona, Candelaria, just to give you an example. People from Barranca Bermeja in Santander as well, Cucuta. So yeah, that's absolutely clear. We've got people from all around the country in this masterclass, Rick.
Great, thank you very much. I thank you all for participating, and also my guest teachers. You cannot imagine how important it is to talk about something that apparently is theoretical, but when you talk, I talk to you, and then you connect it with your realities. It's something that I really enjoy. So in the next hashtag that I said, leadership is important, because what I want to do is explore why talk about leadership in the English class. Okay, so in this time I'm going to change the order a little bit, Jonathan. But Jonathan, before you start, if you want to say hello to anybody in your community, this is the moment to do so.
Well, I'm saying hi to all. Well, first of all, my family. I think they are watching, looking at me right now, and also to my wonderful high school. I'm so proud to be here. I belong to this wonderful team of teachers and students that I really love them. So I'm saying hi to them. I'm here.
Super.
I'm here for you.
Good. And then going back to the question, why do you think leadership is relevant in the English class?
Well, I would say it's so important because we are leaders. As a teachers, we are leader. Also because we guide students to a goal. Maybe not only one skill that right now it's so famous that is speaking, the four skills plus the culture. As you said before, language is a social matter, and it's quite important to take that part because it influences a lot. So I would say that leadership is important because we set a goal and we have to face different challenges around this process. And as soon as we overcome these challenges, we overcome these obstacles, we can get to the point and we can achieve the goal of to be bilingual, right?
Super.
From high school.
Thank you, Jonathan. I have a little joke. I hope it is not inappropriate, but I was thinking that there is an application to learn English, but I was thinking that if that application is actually created in Bucaramanga, it will be called Duopingo. Okay. Okay, let me continue with the other one. Angela Maria, can you share a little bit about the situation in your views about, first, if you want to say something to the people in Uate?
Of course, I want to send a hugs for all the students and all the teachers that every day wake up with the vision for changing the world, for changing the lives of the students, and especially with my institution, when I school, when I work. So I say that it is a pleasure to work here because I have learned a lot of things. I have learned and I have doing part of his family.
Super.
Okay, and as were about the questions, I can say that the leadership is so really important in the English class because, as we know, we have to manage the project-based learning. This is the method that we have to use in some of our class, and it is not learning something and he said, okay, you have to do a poster to demonstrate that you have learned. No, this is a part of the process for creating, but it is most important the roles that the student has in this process or in this project or in this task. And the role as a teacher is really important because we have to detect what is the skill of the students, what are the interests of the students, and start to change the way that sometimes we teach. Because sometimes we say, okay, I teach in this way, and we accommodate in some strategies that you use, and we have to transform our teaching in order to a student can acquire different skills. And the first is the 21st century skills, because it's important that students face different challenges in the world.
Thank you, and thank you very much. Now let's listen to Pau. First of all, Pau, if you want to say something to the people in Florencia, and then give me your ideas about why do this in the English class.
Okay, thank you so much for reminding me that. Yes, I want to say hi to all my family and also hi to my school students because they are also watching this activity, and also hi to my colleagues at school because they are all connected and sending me messages through the chat. And so why do I think leadership is so relevant? Because when we as teachers, are leaders in the classroom, students want to follow what we do. And if we encourage our students to be leaders, they will be part of the change in our world. So I think that we really need this in our English class to try to foster those skills that our students really need to face the challenges of the world.
Thank you, Paul. By the way, thank you, and hello to everybody in Florencia. It's a place that I have visited a few times, and I love it. It's one of our favorite cities. Now, let me move on to what you have just said. You mentioned very important aspects there. So it is the role of a teacher, it is the role of empowering students, etc. But let me give you some ideas that may integrate into the concept of why promote leadership in the language classroom, okay? So one of the reasons is, the first one is that languages are social phenomena. So in order for language to happen, you need to have interaction. But in that interaction, you can do a lot of things. You can teach a lot of things, okay? The second thing is that when we teach a language, we educate citizens. We are not just teaching English. When you ask students to raise their hand or to say, to listen to another person or to repeat something, you are giving organization to the class. But also in a language classroom, we virtually talk about everything or anything. In other words, you talk about family, you talk about geography, you talk about hobbies, you talk about social situations, you talk about many things. Because we talk about those things, the language teacher has to see his or her role as somebody who is providing the tools for people to be better citizens. It's very important to keep that in mind. Also, in the patterns of interactions that we use in the class, for example, when we teach the students and then we have them work in pairs and then in teams, etc., we are providing the tools for people to function in a community. This is why it is so important to talk about respect, to talk about listening to others, to talk about different points of view, etc. Now, when we teach, we also teach people to be active listeners. In other words, not just to hear, but to pay attention to what the other people are saying. And we discuss different topics. We learn about different things, and the richness, the important part of being in a language classroom is that we are exposed to different views from different people, and it is a beautiful laboratory for social interaction. Students learn about solidarity and they learn about empathy through collaboration. So when you're working with task-based learning, with project-based learning, when you give them the opportunity to participate and interact, please remember, you are also promoting solidarity. You are having one student help the other and see how one person is strong, but if the person is with others in a team, they are stronger. And of course, the peer reflection and peer correction, something that was studied in other important master classes before, with what Monica and Carolina mentioned about flipped learning and autonomous learning. That is one of the reasons why in English we can do all of those things. Good. David, any comments from this particular aspect that we have just covered?
Of course, Rick, absolutely. So I've got two comments that I really want to share with you right now. One of them comes from Lisette Malaver Peña. She says, leadership is important because it is a way to generate and promote changes in education. Torco Peñaranda says, leadership is important because students need leaders, and points of reference to build the project of life. That's something that I see, this connection with your pitch at the very beginning. That's something I totally agree on. So Rick, if that's okay with you and with the rest of our partners in this masterclass, we're going to continue with the next section. But before that, I'd like you to have a look at this little advertisement we've got of one wonderful resource that we have been sharing during this year with our teachers. So let's have a look at this advertisement, and then we continue with the next section, which is Teaching Toolbox.
What is ECHO Teens? Well, ECHO stands for English for Colombia, and it is an educational radio program designed to promote English language learning while exploring different fields like technology, arts, tourism, and sports. The program is designed for teens and presented by teens, Rosita, Aleja, Ana, and Lucho, together with Julian, their English teacher. In the program, they share their life projects and help other young people see the benefits of speaking English.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that information. And it's great to see Mafe working on that too. I am so proud of the things that are happening now in Colombia. I'm particularly proud of the participation from the audience, the extended audience, and from our 3 teachers. We're going to begin to explore very simple strategies. Strategy number 1 that I am presenting to you today is, as I mentioned at the beginning, if you want to be a leader, you need to know the different leadership styles. So it's not only one way of doing this. People normally have different leadership styles, but there is one that normally dominates over the others. Okay, So what I did was that if you do that too, what you do is you browse on the internet, either in English or in Spanish or in any other language, and you say, well, ¿cuál es tu estilo de liderazgo? Or what is my leadership style, etc. And you will find like this website here, or like this website here, which is in English, what's your leadership style? And there are many free tests like this one too, the test de liderazgo con resultados, which is actually from Psicología Online. I asked my guests today to do that, but I am sure that many of you will try to do that after this masterclass. So when you have free time after this, you can browse on the internet and find what is your leadership style, and you're going to find some very interesting things in those examinations, okay? What I wanted to do now is I want to ask my guests, but before I ask my guests, I want to tell you that promoting your leadership and your students' leadership implies some basic conditions. And I want to emphasize what my friend said before. The first thing is that in order to have leadership, you have to have the belief that all human beings are unique, valuable, and talented. If you don't believe that, first of all, you have problems with education, because in education, you believe that you can give tools to people so that they can be independent, creative, good human beings. So a very first condition is believing in people's ability. And the second thing is the need to respect others and their rights. So I always refer to Artículo 13 de la Constitución Colombiana when we talk about the importance of diversity, equality, and inclusion. And these topics all the time will appear whenever you talk about leadership, because you cannot have positive leaderships if you don't have equality, diversity, and inclusion. You can have negative leaders who discriminate or who attack or who are violent, but that's not what we are promoting here. And the last thing is the importance of knowing when to lead or to follow, depending on the circumstances. So part of leadership is also to learn that if you are a leader, you have to be ready not to be a leader in certain moments. When somebody says, I would like to lead, then you can say, I am going to be a follower. Please remember, this is very, very important. It's not just being leaders all the time, because then we will have a lot of conflicts. If you are humble, humilde, and you can make decisions about when you want to participate, when you want to lead, go for it. But if not, let somebody else do that. So let me hear from my guests what they have found, because the idea here is, as I said at the beginning, there's not one single way of being a leader. There are different leadership styles, and we change them depending on the circumstances. So I can be one person in an emergency, and then I can be another person in the class, and then I can be another person in a negotiation. So what we do is we have different combinations of different leadership styles. Let's listen to what the results were from my friends who took the Psicología Online survey. So this time I'd like to start with Angela. Can you tell me what kind of leader you are?
Okay, when I developed the questionnaire, I found different things that maybe I don't know. And I say, okay, when the answer, when I say, okay, I am an leadership with vision. And because I thought, or I should select or the some answer that say that you have to discover the interest of the other partners, or in order to get a goal. And I consider that I have this. And the other is that I am ambitious, or I try to do the things in the best way. And I say, okay, yes, this is mine. And I like this exercise because I can find that there are different roles of the leadership. But I consider in the test that I am a visionary, because as I said, I like to think. I like to listen the other people in order to know what happened, what is her thoughts, and try to help in her problems, challenge. And I try to solve, or to think about one solution in order to help the other people.
Great, Angela. And I'm happy to see that you found that and you discovered, or not only discovered, but you also knew, but now you are sure that you listen to other people. Yes, it is. If you want to be a visionary, you need two elements. The first one is knowing where you're heading to, what is the goal, what is the objective. But the second thing that is essential is to listen to others. Because when you listen to the others and you know what their needs are, what their expectations are, what their ideas are, then you can incorporate it and then you can lead them. That is a very good point. Thank you, Angie, for that contribution. And now, Pao, what were your results?
Okay, when I answered the survey, I found out that I'm a democratic leader because I always listen to others and try to concentrate and organize meetings to try to organize ideas with my colleagues. And I also listen and respect others' opinions and take them into account when taking decisions. So that's why my survey was that.
Marvelous. And now that you mentioned democratic leadership, being democratic means that you are going to invite people to have consensus, to listen to the opinions, etc. That doesn't make you strong. On the contrary, that makes you very strong. Sorry, what did I say? That doesn't make you less strong. It makes you really strong because when you listen to other people, people feel that they are respected and they will follow you for sure. Thank you, Pao, for that. And now, Jonathan.
Well, the survey, I did it twice. The first one was I was thinking about myself and then thinking about others, right?
Yeah. If I may interrupt you, Jonathan. Yeah, excellent. And let's talk about only the first part, okay? So that we talk about the second part in a moment.
Okay. So I said that it was visionary also, visionary leadership style. And maybe because I always thinking about others, maybe because I'm thinking about what they have to do or what we are doing as a team. So maybe it was very nice because I checked different results. But you know what I realized? What? I realized that I don't have only one leadership style. I have more than one. So I would say, okay, maybe I'm affiliative also because they say, okay, if you have these points high, you are this kind of leader. If you have these points high, you have this kind of leadership. So it's okay, maybe I have a mixture of leadership.
I am happy that you mentioned that because that is one of the points that we're going to be discussing in a moment. It is everybody is equipped with all the different leadership styles. And depending on the circumstance, the point is, what leadership am I going to use? Okay. And that is what we're going to be exploring in a moment. All right. So actually, I would like to just give you a very quick tour over 6 leadership styles. So that we have the first one, which is the coercive leadership style. And the sentence that I say is something like, follow my instructions carefully if you want to avoid problems. Okay. So, talking about this kind of leader, what we have is that you tend to give a lot of instructions. You control people closely. You rely on the negative and corrective feedback. So you say, you made a mistake, correct it, etc. Now, some people don't like it very much. It is, in general terms, if you use this all the time in your classes, it may be a negative thing because it will generate a negative effect. However, this system or this style is very important in a few cases. Case number 1, in case of an emergency. So, for example, when you are doing the evacuation drills, estos simulacros de evacuación, you can be like this. You say, no, we need to go now. Don't run in this direction. Stay here. Stay away from the window, etc. You give orders. But if you have a situation, for example, of an earthquake, you don't say, what do you think? What will be? No. You say, do this, do that. So that's the first case in case of emergencies. The second thing is when you witness conflicting situations. For example, when somebody is being violent, either physically or verbally, you can use this. You have to tell people, stop. You cannot do that here. It is very important for teachers to be able to put those limits. So it is completely okay to use this coercive leadership style when you need to control. If people don't follow the instructions, there are consequences, and the consequences have to be very clear, okay? The second one is the authoritative leadership style. Authoritative in Spanish, if I may propose a translation, es el uso de la autoridad, but it's a positive use of authority, not authoritarianism, el autoritarismo. So that's not this authoritative. I mean, authoritative means that you are a leader that can say, this is the goal, let's go for that goal, let's achieve what we want to do. Okay, so these people, I mean, generally are people who are able to develop and articulate a clear vision. For example, Angela is more or less into this because she's a visionary. You can show people the direction. And this is very good, for example, in terms of changes, when there are changes in the school or changes in the environment. And for example, the changes that we went through in the pandemics, this is one of the very good things. You can tell people, don't worry, we're going to connect. This is going to be okay. We're going to be learning. If you don't have connectivity, we're going to find a solution. That was more or less the authoritative style of leadership. Okay, the style provides clarity, emphasizing what needs to be done, how it should be done, and why it matters. Okay, the next one is affiliative leadership style. I agree with you, Jonathan. From the things that you mentioned before, I think that you definitely have a lot of elements of affiliative leadership style, because here the point is that you value the human being all the time. So if I could tell you, these people would say the task is important, but if my students are feeling bad, I prefer to talk about their situation more than the task. Okay, so it's basically people first. So this style promotes a friendly atmosphere where students feel valued as individuals and their contributions are highlighted, and you say, thank you, I appreciate that, thank you for participating, let's do this, you can do that, etc., etc. Okay, then we have the pace setter leadership style. The pace setter, I don't know if you have heard about that expression, but in Spanish it would be como el marcapasos. But it's basically somebody who's doing this all the time, like checking the time. Okay, no te quedes. ¿Dónde estás? Okay, we're doing this. Hey, we're going to finish this first. Let's move on to the next thing. So it is like coordinating this. It's like everybody plays the instruments and I will tell you when and how. I am the orchestra director, okay? And this style is about doing things quickly and when they need to happen. Sometimes you need to do that. For example, if students are too distracted, it is good to use this leadership style. Sometimes we say, yeah, very nice, but let's get busy. Let's continue, all right? In this presentation, David is our pace setter because he says, Ricardo, okay, very good. Let's continue with the next thing. We're taking too much time here. So this is more or less the style here. The next one is, I must confess that this is my favorite one, is the coaching leadership style. And in this picture, you can see here our great Olympic gold medal, Catherine Ibargüen. And many people don't talk about this guy here. Rune actually he's the coach. And as a coach, well, what he does is that he's helping her develop her potential. So he doesn't jump. She jumps. She is the one that does the job. She gets the medal. But if she gets the medal, he's happy. And the same thing happens with our students. If you just talk about their potential, if you help them discover what they can do, if you tell them that they are good, if you give them the tools to be right, then you are in the coaching leadership style. You have the talent, I will accompany you to discover your talent. And this style empowers students by identifying what they want to do, exploring the best way to do it, and setting the next objective. So with a good coach, a good teacher would say, very good, you finished, this was the way to do it, can you do it better? Let's try to do it, let's try to do it better, what worked well, what is the next thing, and then continue with this kind of a promotion of quality, okay? So now that I did this very quick review of all the styles, let me then ask you, David, if you have heard any comments about the leadership styles in the chat. And I'm also trying to do the same thing here.
Oh, okay, Rick. So we're gonna have a look at that really quick. Let me just double check about the comments we've got. Okay, we don't have many yet. People have pretty much listening to the stories. We don't have any comments yet, but we're gonna just wait for them as
Super,
they
no
share
problem.
them here.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you. And also thank you, Angela, Pao, and Jonathan. Jonathan already gave you an indication of where we are heading to, because when we do this, you discover your leadership style, okay? So this is me. This is what I have. This is the person that I am. And you can have, as Jonathan said, a combination of affiliative or coach or any other. Okay. What is interesting is that then you have to think about not you, but what your situation requires. Let me give you an example. If you have a very difficult class with issues with discipline, or if you have students who are not motivated, or if you have students who are all pillows and they are always working together with you, then you have to adapt and change the style. Remember, with one same class, you can be coercive if the situation requires, you can be a coach, you can be affiliative. So it all depends on how you manage your different leadership styles to guide activities and promote leadership with the students. Okay, so what I'm going to present now is our second strategy. And our second strategy is determining what my context or situation requires. I mentioned that at the beginning that it is very important to know what kind of leadership you have. But now we are going to talk about your students, what kind of leadership they require. Okay. So depending on that, the only thing that you do is a very simple thing. And it is that you take your leadership style is here, and then what your situation requires. So what I want to suggest to all the extended audience is to use the same survey that you chose online, but this time you think about your school reality. Because many people say, sí, pero es que tú estás en la ciudad. No, no, no. We're talking about different places, Ubaté, Florencia, Bucaramanga, but it could be any other place in Colombia. And once you do that, you find if there are any differences there. So thinking about your school reality, what difference did you find? If you find the differences, then we will be able to talk about what you have in relation with what you need. Okay, I would like to listen first of all to Pao. Pao, if you can share what you found in that particular case.
Well, when I did the survey thinking about my school context, I realized that I have different leadership skills, and most of them are related to how to involve my colleagues in working all together to achieve goals. Well, I think that the main difference is that when I think about myself, I just think about my goals. But when I am working with others, we have all to try to organize and set the goals that we want to achieve. So that's the difference when we work together or individually.
Good. Are you thinking about your colleagues or are you thinking about your students, Pao?
Right now, like in the context in my school, when I work with my colleagues to achieve the goals in our school with our students.
Great. It is also valid. I mean, the good thing about the leadership styles is that you can think about you in relation to your colleagues, you in relation to your students, and even you in relation to your family. So a good leader in the family can apply the same principles that we're talking about here today. Super. Thank you, Pao, for that contribution. Jonathan.
Well, at that survey, I found that I have like affiliative leadership style, and I also found that I really take care of people, right? Something important about leadership that I found about that is that to recognize the strengths of others and sometimes to use them to get what you want, specifically to get what you want in the sense of getting goals, achieve goals, specifically, well, in this case, academic goals. It's quite important to know students, what they can do, what are they good at, and to realize that they can do it. The first thing that you have to do is believe in yourself and believe in others, right? And make them believe in themselves. I think it's quite important to know that, to influence that thinking.
Great. Thank you very much. And Angela, if you could share with us what you found.
Okay, when I did the survey, thinking about my context, my students, my colleagues, I found that I have both of leadership. The first one is visionary, as Anna said before, and the other is democratic, because I found that I like to listen the purpose, the opinions, the interests of my colleagues, the other points of view, in order to achieve our goal. And it is important in my town or in my school, because I thought that it is the same in the class. When I do different activities, I say, okay, students, what do you think about this? Do you like it? You don't like? What do you prefer? Or we have to try to know the personality of my students in order to give some task, in order that all the students try to be a leader, in a little way or in a big way, I don't know. But all the students have the opportunity to grow in his leadership, and it's important in a learning environment. So I found that in this case, in a context with other people, we have other type of leadership. But I liked this because I found, okay, I thought this in my case, but what happened when I put my opinions, my abilities, my skills in order to help the other people? And
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
Yes, and I like this because I say, okay, it's a good opportunity, if maybe to do this survey for my students, in order to know himself or themselves where is the kind of leadership. Because sometimes the students say, okay, I am not a leader, you are a leader, I am your only a student, and I can do nothing. But this survey, maybe we can apply with our students in order to know the skills or himself.
Thank you. Thank you. And you notice what you have said. It's really important. It is, if you want to promote responsibility, the students have to feel that they are autonomous. And autonomy is something that we can create in the classroom, in the English classroom or any other classroom, but particularly in English. When you think about all these techniques, like, okay, now you do it, now it's your turn, now you say it, now you do it. Something that was mentioned by my colleague Monica before, when she talked about flipped learning and the ability to give the power to the students. It is exactly what we're trying to look into here today. So yes, you can continue with your leadership. When you use those skills to make them evident in the classroom, then that's when your students begin to say, hey, I can do that. Hey, I can be my own leader. Hey, I can direct this. Okay, so that's a very good point. Very good. So what I wanted to show you is that if, for example, let me just talk about a personal situation. My leadership style is coach mainly, but I can also use coercive and pace setter. Uh, and I analyze my situation in my work, and then I realize that people are very well trained and they have the skills, but sometimes there are conflicts, etc. And I notice that they require a coach, somebody who can be coercive, and sometimes pace setter. And if I see that what I need, those three elements that I have, those three elements that I have is what is needed, then I am in the perfect case because I am using what the situation requires. But sometimes what you have is not what is needed. Let me just give you an example. If, for example, you believe in the coercive approach and the authoritative approach all the time, and you don't allow people to say anything, and then you go to a school where students are used to participating and giving their opinions, etc., there is going to be a conflict. So I really need to develop those skills to listen to people, to work on the affiliative leadership style or on the coaching style, so that I can match with that. So that's why the idea here is that you, once you determine what you have, and then when you determine what the situation needs, then that's when you decide what is the area where you need to work harder and which are your strengths as teachers. Okay. Now, I asked, of course, and I asked all of you to participate in the next part, which are a set of cases. So I'm going to give you case 1, case 2, and case 3. And in each one of the cases, I am going to give you some options. So please be ready to send us your responses in the chat. And of course, Angie, Pao, and Jonathan, be ready because I'm going to be going back to you in a moment. So let's begin with the first one. The first one, case number 1, says, I am mainly a democratic leader with some elements of coaching. I don't like to use the coercive style to control behavior. I believe in people's ability to discover their potential. I promote consensus and the importance of respect. This is me. And then my school is located in Cucuta. There are many students who are migrants. Colombian students tend to discriminate against them. Although they respect me, they are not very respectful of the students coming from other countries. Okay, so that is the situation. Now I am going to give you possible answers to this one, so you understand the situation, the kind of person that I am, and the kind of students that I have. All right, so these are the three possibilities. Be ready to participate. Option A, continue using the democratic and coaching style all the time. Possibility B, continue using the democratic and coaching style, but use the coercive style to stop attacks and control discipline in the class. And the option C, change my approach completely and use the coercive approach in all cases. So I am listening to you guys. I know that in this moment, David is checking the numbers of A's, B's, and C's, and which one is predominant. I'm going to give you just a few seconds. And David, whenever you're ready, we're ready.
Okay, so we've got several comments and answers based on what's been presented during this section, and I'd like to share a couple of those
Please.
comments. Well, by the way, we've got more than 200 people online with us. So apart from the fact that they say that these strategies are just great, John Calderon says coaching is the best way to guide our students. Coaching builds rapport and confidence, so students become risk takers. Also, Torco Peñaranda says that he likes the last two styles, pace setter and coaching, as they are really necessary to empower the students. So yeah, those are some of the comments that we have recently. Most of the people are also saying that their styles are either A or B. Those are the two that I'd say are the most popular so far. So yes, Rick, that's what we got on the chat box right now.
Great, no problem. Let me just check here, because as you know, we are multitasking, and so I'm reading this. Okay. All right, super good. So let me then find out what Angela has for this case. Angie, can you help me?
Okay, in this case, I do it, continue using the democratic and coaching style all the time. And in this case, we can do it different activities in order to the other students can know about the culture of these migrants students. And I try to use, I'll say, okay, what do you think? What happened? What do you think? What is the best solution?
Yeah.
Because you are in the classroom, you know what happened with these students, you have the opinions of your partners. And this is the part when I can use the democratic. And the coaching is in order to say, for the migrant students, okay, you can do it, don't worry. You have the support of me as a teacher, the coordinator, or the other teachers, and I try to empower these students in order to lower the discrimination, or in order to develop his autoesteem or self-esteem, self-esteem.
Super, thank you very much for that explanation. Good. And Pau?
Okay, I also agree with this answer. I will also continue using the democratic and coaching style all the time with my students, and I will also try to make them aware that we all are different and that we all must understand each other's backgrounds. So I think that it will be A, but I also see that there are many people trying to say in the chat that they agree with B, which is continue using the democratic and coaching style, but also use the coercive style to stop the attacks. Which also made me think about that one, because sometimes we need as teachers to try to control some things during the classroom, but I think that there are other ways to do it. So I still think that it would be A.
Great. And you know what, the interesting thing here is that there is no right or wrong answer. These are totally good possibilities. Jonathan?
Well, I would say B also, because first of all, I would solve the problem. There is a problem about this attacking, about discrimination. So I would try to solve the problem using the democratic coaching style, but also the coercive styles that helps to control and stop the attacks.
Yes, and what I want to suggest here in this case is, please do not be afraid to speak up. I mean, it's very important for teachers, especially when you are witnesses of discrimination, that you stop them. It's not like we can be nice. No, there are things that can be acceptable or not acceptable, but this one is completely unacceptable. I mean, it's against human rights. So we are not even thinking that if it is a good idea or not. So yes, definitely you can do that from the coaching style and the democratic style. But if you at a certain point need to use your authority and say stop, this is not acceptable, it's totally okay. Okay, so don't be afraid to do that. Yes, I'm sorry that I didn't give David enough time for teachers to send their responses, but I think that now we have some responses in the chat regarding this particular case. David?
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, the most popular answer has been B in the chat box. So most of them say that in that case, what they would do would be to continue using the democratic and coaching style, but also using the coercive style as Paula previously mentioned.
Thank you very much. Let me go now to the second case. Everybody, our extended audience, please pay attention to this case, and the same to Jonathan, Pau, and Angie. Case number 2, I am a coercive leader and only exceptionally listen to the students' views. It is difficult for me to open spaces for negotiation and consensus because I really don't have time to finish the program. My school is located in Salento, Eje Cafetero. My students have been together for some years. Most of them are friends and live in the same neighborhood. They know how to work in teams and they are very responsible, okay? So so it's very clear that this person is very strict, uses authority and coercive leadership. And it's difficult for this person to listen to others because then it takes too much time in the class to finish with the program, okay? So the possibilities. Possibility letter A, coercion and discipline control are not strongly needed. Consider a gradual change, including affiliative and democratic leadership. Letter B, continue using the coercive approach. After all, you're not there to make friends. Your only objective is to teach and complete the program. And letter C, change completely towards a democratic and affiliative leadership style. Students don't need limits. Okay. So let's begin now with Jonathan. Jonathan, what do you think is the best possibility here?
Well, I would say maybe A, right? Coercion and discipline control are not strongly needed. Maybe a gradual change, including affiliative and democratic leadership. I would say that I really interested on that part because it's quite nice to see that not all you have human beings, and maybe you create an environment to learn. And of course, it's, as I told you before, it's a mixture of leaderships. There is not only one. There is not a perfect leadership. So you have to mix according to the context, according to the people you have, and according also to the goals you want to achieve.
Super. Thank you very much, Jonathan. Very good points. It is adapting to the situations, basically, not just saying, I'm sorry, this is the way I am, and whatever happens, that's not my problem. Thank you. Angie, what do you think?
Yes, I am agree with Jonathan. I prefer the first option because it's important to shine, because sometimes we are say, okay, as you say, I am here, I am in this way, I don't want to change, but it is opportunity in all the times, all the situations that we have in our lives is a good opportunity to change, to reevaluate our points of view, reevaluate our decisions, and I say while we have a life, we have the opportunity to do the best things.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that contribution. And Pau?
Okay, I also agree with my colleagues because I consider that coercion and discipline control are not strongly needed. Like sometimes you need it to solve some problems and maybe just to avoid, as we saw in the previous case. But I consider that you also need to be somehow and at some point friends with your students. You need to understand them, you need to get to know them, and if you do that, then you're going to understand what their needs are and how to approach those needs and how to teach efficiently and to teach in a better way. So that's why I consider that A is the most appropriate answer.
Thank you. I remember that I met a teacher. I was doing some class observations, and this person was doing exactly this thing. He was very, very strict and, using authority and controlling everything. And so at the end of the class, I asked him, but, why, what is the purpose of doing this? And he said, I am not here to make friends. I don't get my salary to make friends. And I said, yes, but you don't get your salary to make enemies either. So a nice point in between is very important. Don't be afraid to change. Some people who use coercion all the time are basically afraid and they want to be protected from the outside. So that's why this happens. Okay, super. Jonathan, I don't know if you have heard about our extended audience, what their opinions are.
You mean David, right?
Sorry, David. Thank you.
David, yeah.
Yes, Rick. By the way, most of people have said that they would choose A in this case. For instance, Arbeláez says leadership also has to do with listening and changing a student's reality somehow. So yeah, we could essentially say that most people are choosing the option A in the chat.
Super. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now let's move on to the next case. Case number 3. I have a very good relationship with students. We are friends, and sometimes I share with them and their families. My preferred leadership style is coaching, and I also use the authoritative style. And then my school is located in Ipiales. My students are kind and friendly. However, sometimes boys make jokes about girls. They tend to interrupt them most of the time. I think this is because the culture in the country promotes machismo, and that's the teacher's opinion, not my opinion. So so you see the situation is good relationship between boys and the teachers and the students, but there is a problem there because boys tend to be like bullying the girls. Okay, so we go to this. So that possibility A, change your style completely. Use the coercive approach and only use the democratic style if students behave well. Letter B, keep students busy by using the pace setters leadership style. Assign tasks so that they don't have to time for jokes. And letter C, continue using the coaching and authoritative styles. Include coercive leadership in cases when you need to stop an attack, and then invite students to reflect on their language and their jokes and generate compromises. So I know that now Pau is the person who's going to start now. If you can give me your opinion, Pau.
Okay, I consider that, well, so far I'm just trying to get used to the answers, but I think it will be C, like in my opinion. I will continue using the coaching style, not only the authoritative one, but I will also use strategies to stop the attacks, right? Because we have to be very precise when this happens in our schools, and we need to focus on what is going on and how to solve it, because we can't let people attack others, even if it's women or men only. Also, I will also ask students to reflect. They are really good thinkers, and I know that they will reflect on what they have done and the language that they have used. And they will also organize compromises and just to try to solve the problem.
Great. Thank you very much, Pau. Jonathan? Jonathan, are you still there? Okay, I don't know if I lost contact with the other people. Can somebody tell me if you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah,
okay, good, super. All right, super. Okay, so Jonathan, you're there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good, super. If you can tell me which letter you chose, A, B, or C?
Well, I would say that I continue using the Z, right? Continue using the coaching and authoritative styles, including coercive leadership, because we have to stop attack. You know, that as I told you before, there are things that we can't, if we have to stop, we have to stop it, right? Specifically, disrespect and all these kind of situations that are normally discrimination and all. We are trying to like develop these skills that are like equality, that are quite important, diversity, and I think you have to stop it if you see something that is not right. So I would say that.
Super.
And yeah, maybe B no, because maybe when you are, I mean, they are not, students are not aware why we are doing a lot of work. So if you do some work, I mean, make them being aware hey, you do this because of this, right? So I think it's quite important to have that into account.
Yeah, and keeping the students busy is I mean, it's a good idea, but in a way, it doesn't touch the problem. It doesn't really attack the situation. So I agree with you that, you know, there
Exactly.
should be some kind of coaching, authoritative style, but also the importance of working with the language, using the jokes and everything. Angela, Maria, I know that you're only working with girls. You have
Yeah.
any comments about this?
Yes, when I read this situation, I say, okay, I said, or I feel, say, okay, this is one part of my case in, time in my school, because as I say, my school is only for women or girls. And when I read, say, okay, sometimes, yes, we have to say, okay, stop the attack for the boys or for the men, but it's important to work in the esteem of the girl or the woman, because you say, okay, yes, it's perfect that you don't believe it in the things or in the thoughts or the say or the other people say it, because it's important that in order that you study in a school, you have a value as a person. So for that reason, I consider that the best is the third one, because it's necessary that stop the attack, but it's most important that we can build in our students, in my case, in our women's, or to empower that they have a lot of opportunities for doing different things, that the woman has have good ideas, and not only for the men's. And I like it, this part, because I want to say, okay, you have to reflect. In my class, I say, okay, you have to reflect what is the role that you have in the society, because it is really important. I know that in our society, the machines is very big, and we have to do the opportunity, and we have the opportunity to change these visions, and this
Yeah.
vision we can change in the classroom.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that one of the aspects that is really interesting about this case, and I'm sure that many people may have noticed that in our extended audience, is that for the first time we're talking about the analysis of language, the language that students use in their jokes, etc. Because in languages, when you're teaching English, you can talk about the language, but that language in context. When somebody gives an adjective, an opinion about a woman, discrimination, you can talk about the language that is being used, not only in terms of this is an adjective, this is a verb, but is this convenient? Is this something that is respectful? Is this something that is convenient? So it's that kind of discussion that we want to begin to promote when you think about the relationship between leadership and language teaching. Okay, David, any comments over there?
Um, yes, Rick. So, the vast majority of people in the audience agree on C. They all believe that the best option here would be C. And apart from that, there is also something else I would like to take advantage of this space for mentioning. Please do not forget to register in the link that you guys are seeing on the chat box. That's for all the more than 200 teachers who are in this very moment watching this masterclass. So we got the link there. And also, as we participate throughout the masterclass, make sure you put all your questions there, as some of them will be also answered by the end. So yes, Rick, basically their answer is C for this
Thank you.
question.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good. Well, I like it when we, I mean, we together, like a collectively create or analyze situations that are very close to what is happening in Colombia in different cases with different intensities, but that we are experiencing, particularly in the public sector. So that's why, you know, some of the cases were like regarding those particular aspects. Okay. Now, just to invite you to reflect, everybody, please think about this. If you can identify your leadership style, if you can help the students discover their leadership style, what is it that you have to do? How can you tell? Is there any way I can see that? Because if you put together some of the master classes that have happened before, you will see that there are a lot of connections with the topic that we are covering today for this closing. So I kindly invite you to also visit the other master classes and see which ones are related to the fact that one, students have the possibility to take control, to be autonomous, to be responsible, to be motivated, and to talk about these social emotional skills that are so important nowadays. So just wanted to leave you that here, because I mean, I value your opinions and everything we have said, but the most important thing is what is going to happen directly in our classroom with the students, okay? All right, now, having said that, I would like to introduce the third strategy, and the third strategy is how we develop the I to promote leadership in class. You say develop the I is how to become sensitive about the things that you see, the things that are happening. So in order to do that, I just have a few very simple exercises. The first exercise is to see this picture that is right here, where you have these kids here. And you can please send us your comments in the chat, and I am going to ask our guests today. It is exactly, what do you see? But this time I'm going to ask only one person, if it is okay with you. I'm going to ask Pau. Paola, what do you see here?
Okay, I see that there is one student or one boy who's trying to lead maybe a conversation or a discussion. But then I also see a girl who is shy, who is maybe sad. So what I see here is that maybe what is needed is to try to join this person, to try to invite this person to the communicative part here in the right part of the picture, to try to involve her in the activity that they are developing.
Thank you. And I mean, you said it so clearly, and I'm glad that you mentioned that. First thing is, when you get into a classroom, remember, we are not just there to instruct in a language. I mean, I know that subject, verb, complement, modal auxiliaries, simple present, present progressive, future, etc. Those are very important things, but you also see people. And if you see somebody in that situation, what you said before, Paul, is very important. It is, how can I, through the activities in the class, involve this little girl into the activities, and at the same time listen to her, see what is happening to her, and try to provide at least opportunity for her to feel that somebody is listening. By the way, just a little parenthesis, in all schools there have to be protocols for kids who can have other issues. So it is also very important for the English teachers to learn about those protocols to protect kids, particularly girls, when you see any signs of danger, and report them according to the protocol that is present in each school. Thank you, Paul, for that. Any comments in the chats? David, I don't know if people had the chance to say something about this particular case.
So, well, let me see. Norma Constanza Bonilla says, rules are necessary and important. We agree and make and set the rules to be followed. That's one of the comments that we've got. Also, Arbey Arbeláez, he says, they sometimes need rules. If you are too democratic, it can be misunderstood by students. Lisette Malaver says she also chose the option C in the previous exercise, and she says it is a good strategy to invite students to reflect on their attitudes, but they have to compromise with a real attitude change. Talking about the picture, Carmen, Cecilia Cote says, I see a sad girl, and the others don't talk with her. Olga Kitian says, I see isolation and lack of empathy. And finally, Astrid Londoño says, I see they like to pay attention and ask for more information if they need it. So, Rick, those are some of the comments that we've got on the chat box.
What I want to emphasize is that this exercise is really important when you can use it in the classroom too, to generate awareness, because what you see, I mean, if you respond literally, you say, I see 1, 2, 3, 4 kids, period. But when you allow people to interpret the situation, then they can give you more information. So that's why I chose this particular exercise. I'm going to share another exercise similar to this one. In this case, there is a group of students. A girl just gave an answer, and then a boy raised the hand and says, she doesn't know, let me explain. So what do you see in this particular one? Let me ask this time, Jonathan.
Yeah, well, I see like interaction of students. Maybe sometimes there is some critics when somebody doesn't know, the other person try to help. It depends on how you say it, right? Hey, she doesn't know, let me explain it. It depends on the way intonation, right? I would say, because it looks like I would say, let me explain to everybody. I would say I see an interaction. Maybe it would sound a little bit negative or positive. It depends on the way I'm going to explain. But yeah, it's quite nice. It's a
Yes,
normal interaction in a school.
I know. The reason why I included here is because there is a concept that we are learning recently about boys, and according to studies that demonstrate that boys tend to interrupt girls in the class, and also that when a girl gives an explanation, boys think that it is their obligation to complement and to give the final right answer, something that is called mansplanation or mansplaining, sorry. So the reason why I brought this here is because these are more subtle, son como sutilezas of the language that we also need to be aware of. If we, for example, know now that this is happening, that, for example, boys tend to dominate in the classes, that they tend to interrupt, that they don't listen to the opinions, that they think that they have to clarify what a girl said perfectly, then we need to intervene and provide feedback about those particular cases. Very good. So what we want to do here is we want to what I suggest here is that we pay close attention to what happens in the interactions. Okay. So talking about interactions, particularly, what interaction patterns do you use in class? And that is something that I want to extend to everybody. But I would like this time, who's missing? Is it Angela? Yeah, Angela, if you can tell us about the interaction patterns that you use in class. Sorry, before you answer, just to remind you of a definition of interaction pattern is how you have your students interact. It could be teacher students, it could be student student, it could be student teacher. So what do you have in your class, Angela?
Okay, I have a mix of this interaction because in sometimes the interaction is a teacher with the student, and sometimes it is the collaborative work or collaborative team in between the students, and they try to do some project or some ideas to develop this. And in other way, in other case, I use the student teacher because it's necessary that the students can give some ideas, some strategies, and I can do it a feedback about the abilities or about the weakness or the strengths that the student have. So I consider that in my class I use all the interaction, and the other interaction is when the student can interact with his family, because as
Wow.
you know, in the pandemic, when we don't when we didn't go to the school, and I try to do, okay, you are learning about some topic, some project, and you have to include or you have to work with your family, and this is other interaction that we have the opportunity, and the parents have the opportunity to share with the students different topics, different time, and it is other interaction that I can use or I used in the pandemic.
Wow, that is so nice that you mentioned, because that's something new. I mean, actually, I didn't have it in my list, and I love the fact that you brought it here and that you're contributing with a very good idea, which is students interact amongst themselves. They can interact with the teacher, and also they interact with their families and the community. So I want to thank you for that contribution. Well, yes, actually, when you think about this kind of interaction, normally many traditional classes are here where the teacher speaks to the audience and the audience just listens. But if you really want to promote leadership, you have to consider the possibility for example, a student becoming the teacher, and also the possibility for that student to invite participation. I included this on purpose because I think it is very important to have interaction between boys and girls, and that is one way to talk and discover these things that I told you about interactions, how they communicate, how they interrupt, how they respect turns, etc. But also among kids, but particularly be creative. If you have to work in pairs, you can have, for example, kids with different interests or different backgrounds. For example, what we said, for example, a migrant student with a Colombian student, so that they can, learn more about the others. And also students who can have more abilities in a certain aspect of the class with those students who have difficulties in the class, so you can put them together also to share. That's what I was talking about, collaboration and solidarity. But also think about larger teams where you have a mix of students, of girls and boys, and also students from different ethnic background, for example. That's basically the idea, but you can have as many combinations as you want. This one here is very closely related with what Angela Maria has to do in her place. Angela Maria mentioned, and I want to insist, that she's also working in a project with blind students. Now, when you think about inclusion, that is a very good example. It's like including that person who may have some difficulties or challenges into the activities, okay? Another possibility is to divide the class into two large groups, but they also interact in debates or in presenting arguments about a certain topic, and then reporting. When somebody presents, then this person talks, receives the information, and then this person shares with these other three people, and then those three people share with other people. So you can have as many variants as you want, okay? Now, thinking about this, what are some of the advantages, for example, of pair work and small teamwork? Thinking about that, this time I'm going to ask Jonathan only. So, Jonathan, I don't know what you found specifically about the importance of pair work and small teamwork.
Well, there are different advantages about paid work, right? The first thing I would say is to recognize that I have a team, that I have someone who can help me maybe with things when I don't understand something. So this kind of relationship, I'm not alone. I'm not learning alone. So this is quite interesting in this process. So I would say paid work allows to recognize that you are not alone in the learning process.
Yeah.
You have,
I agree.
And there are different levels of learning. Maybe you are now slow. Maybe you in other activity you could be faster, and that's something quite nice in the learning process. Also, I would say that maybe a nice environment helps learning. And so when you are with someone that you get on well with, maybe you work better than working with another one that maybe you don't like it, or maybe you have some disagreement. So it's quite nice to help the environment process. So I would say it's nice. Paid work is quite interesting and meaningful for students.
Absolutely, I totally agree. And of course, if there is a volunteer pairs, like friends, etc., that is great. It's only just consider every now and then to take them out of the comfort zone and to get involved with somebody else, just to learn more people, because it is, I mean, I am happy with my friends, and that's very good. And in terms of motivation, that is great. But what happens when you interact with somebody who you don't know, or somebody who is not from the country, or somebody who has a different situation or a different limitation or challenge? So just think about every now and then, not always, but every now and then, challenge them. Okay, good. Let me see if some people may have mentioned anything there, David, or particular about patterns of interaction.
Absolutely, Rick. So most of them say that they use collaborative work as a tool for interaction. Some of them are also mentioning pair and group interaction, and essentially teamwork, as I said. So those are some of the comments we have.
Super, great. Let me just move on. I'm being aware of time. Yes, just to close this section of interaction patterns. When you have pair work and teamwork, that allows them to mix with everyone in the group, promoting diversity and inclusion. That's what I was saying. It gives them a sense of achievement when they reach a team goal, because they say, yeah, we made it. So even if somebody in the team was not really good at a certain point, he or she shares the happiness, okay? And it also teaches them how to lead and to be led by someone other than the teacher. So it is also accepting the leadership of another student. So in promoting leadership, this could be a very good idea, okay? All right, so let's go to the third part, which is exploring EDI. For those of you who are not familiar with these three letters, they stand for equality, diversity, and inclusion. As you can see in this first picture, I'm sorry, I say I see, but I'm going to explain it for you. There are three kids. One can see happily what is happening. The other one has a little bit of difficulty, but the other one, it's difficult because they cannot have access. So a possible solution, and many of you may be familiar with this graph, is to have the same situation here where everybody is apparently in the same level. So there is equality here. But that is a questionable thing because the idea is not to affect any of the participants. What happens if this is the scenario where there are no barriers and they can enjoy according to their own challenges and abilities? So we're going to be talking about this because, as I mentioned at the beginning, if you don't talk about leadership in your classes, then we are not talking about leadership really with the students. So considering this particular case, I wanted to say what type of activities help you promote equality, diversity, and inclusion. And I know that Angela will have a lot of things to say. Everybody has something to say, but I'm going to leave it open to you guys. So I don't know if maybe Angela, talking about your blind students, if you want to share something.
Okay. In this case, when I worked with blind students, in this moment is not in the school, but I try to do different materials or to adapt the materials for these students, and I start to say, okay, you're a blind students, and I talk about with my other students to say, okay, you have to help because, as you know, he has a difference. For you, and I try to do different material in order to accomplish different objectives of different goals for my students. So it is important in this part that we as a teacher promote the equality and to promote the inclusion, because as we know, in this case it's a blind students, but we have different types of styles, learning styles in our school, and I consider that in this case we have to be an innovative ideas. And one of these, there was I transcribed a book or some stories in Braille, and I allow that the students can read and can follow the reading that the other students can see. And the other strategy that I used was through videos, through audios, because as you know, the blind students or the blind people develop the other sense, and it is a good opportunity for me because there is a challenge, because I say, okay, I need to know what is the best way or what is the interest of the students, and it is an opportunity for me to grow as a person, as a teacher.
Great. I know that everybody does something, and I appreciate what you mentioned, Angela. Pao and Jonathan, I'm going to skip you for this time, but I am happy to see that you are aware of the needs of the students, and then you try to compensate with additional materials, with the special attention, with speaking slower, using technology, using the mobile, the PDF files that now can be read by the computer, etc. So thank you for that. That's exactly the idea. I mean, there are many ways to integrate this, but I just wanted to take to bring you to this, which is something that is called the intersectorial discrimination. When you think about discrimination in general in the world, and this is actually taken from people, authors that have analyzed this issue internationally, the areas where discrimination may happen are related to religion and belief, to ethnicity, that is basically origin and the color of skin, to sexual identity, to age, which is discriminating young people or discriminating old people, disability in terms of physical challenges, issues of gender, particularly for girls and women, multi and transcultural differences. When we see that somebody is from another place or country, etc. What I wanted to show you is that normally these things don't happen in isolation. So just imagine, for example, a Afro-Colombian person who is, for example, a lesbian or gay and may have a disability. So if you have this person will have more chances to be discriminated. So as teachers of English, we need to know more about equality, diversity, and inclusion. and to have the tools so that we can promote ways to include everybody in their own capacities and according to their situations, but mainly to allow other students to respect those differences. In Colombia, we don't have a multiplicity of, for example, of cultures apparently, but when you go to the territories, you see that in one classroom you can have somebody from a city, from somebody from an indigenous community, somebody with a different religion, etc. And so part of our work is to understand those specific details that may lead people to discriminate against them, and through leadership promote listening to them, respecting the differences, and learning more about their situations. All right, so how do you know if you're doing this? So what I thought is, if we have like some sort of a checklist where you say, yes, I do this, or no, I don't do this, maybe if I read all of this with you, and then you tell me if you feel that you are promoting this kind of leadership in the class, we will be able to do that. So for example, if you do project-based learning in your class, that will be one of the cases. I know already that in our guests, most of them work with project-based learning. Remember, in project-based learning, the students are developing a certain task with the purpose of creating or developing a project. So they have all the power. Therefore, there you are promoting leadership. Do you listen to learners and help them shine in ways that make them feel comfortable? In other words, active listening, and as Angela said and Paola said twice, building on self-esteem. Yeah. What about, do you consider different personality types and learning styles so everybody is included? So we know that there are different learning styles. Some people don't like to divide them, but yes, there are people who learn more visually. Some people are more kinesthetic. Some people are more interpersonal. Some people are more intrapersonal. What is that doing in the classroom? How can we promote those possibilities so that they can shine, they can show what they can do? The other one is, do you give learners the opportunity to do meaningful projects, something that is important to them? Can they decide what they want to do? Can they decide how they want to do it in case they cannot decide what they want to do? How do you assess? How do you evaluate that? Do you accept students' comments? Do you channel the energy so that they can promote evaluations? Do you do activities that bring the best of the learners, where they can feel comfortable and happy at the end? If you responded to these different checklists with check, 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 maybe you are doing a great job in promoting leadership. And that's something that I value a lot. If so, how do you do that? Really, that would be the most important question. I know that we will not have time to listen to the extended audience and how they do that, but I can guarantee you that if you give the students the opportunity, if you believe in the students, they can actually bring those changes that we want to see in our country. So, students leaders grow to become independent thinkers. They understand how to work in teams and have positive effects on their communities. That's why we are so interested in doing this. I always say that this happens in the English class because in English, you are providing a language, but if you provide a language, you're also providing a way of thinking and a way of looking at the world. All right. By the way, this is taken from Campbell University Education, just to give them the citation. So we're getting to this moment. David, tell me how ¿qué dicen las redes sociales?
Okay, Rick. So we are getting closer and closer to the end of this master class, and I've got something very important to mention. As I said before, please do not forget to register in the link which is right there on the chat box, and also make sure to put your questions there, as we will answer them by the end. Registering is very important because with that you will receive a certification for participation, and also you will receive back all the documentation of this presentation, which includes worksheets and the PowerPoint presentation. So if that's okay with you, we're going to continue with our last section, which with the next section, which is taking action, by the way. And so let's continue, please.
Super. presentation to taking action. And what I did is basically a summary for all of you, but this time I want to bring this to your attention. So we mentioned the first strategy, which is basically determine your leadership style. That's very important. And in order to do that, what you do is you take a survey in Spanish or in English that you find online. And then, of course, in order to do it, you can just get test leadership style or prueba para medir mi liderazgo, and then you can take it and review the answers. For your students, there are versions in Spanish and there are versions in PDF that you can bring to the class or send it to in a chat or with a picture with the mobile or in paper, okay? So the second strategy that we cover today is determine what your context requires. This is very important because as you saw, what you do is in the first one, you concentrate on who you are, but in the second one, you concentrate on what the situation requires. So you take the same survey, but then thinking about that situation and how you do it, basically you compare the results. And then you say, this is what is needed. This is what I have. Great. This is what is needed. I don't have it. Then an area for development. With the students, it's very important to do the same exercise. Listen to you. You are interrupting all the time. You want to do all the things all the time. What kind of leadership is that? And then when they see it, just making them aware of how they are reacting, you say, have you considered this a possibility? Can you try this one? And then exactly the same situation. And for the third strategy, we talk about develop the critical eye to promote leadership in your classes. And the action steps was specifically identify how students communicate, listening actively, how people use the language, English, to communicate when they criticize, when they make jokes, when they participate in class. Generate awareness of language interaction and EDI, equality, diversity, and inclusion. Be alert with those students who are quiet all the time. Be alert when people include aggressive comments in the class, even if it is in English. It's that kind of awareness. And when you say how you do that, first identify your patterns of interaction. Do you promote pair work? Do you promote teamwork? How often do they interact? Make students aware of EDI by assigning an observation task. For example, you say, okay, Pepito and Maria, you're going to be observing the class. I want you to tell me how many times each person spoke, how many times a girl spoke versus a boy, how many times were there interruptions, and all of these things. Take them to be aware of language and interaction. Use every opportunity to promote reflection. So as Paola mentioned in one part, and also Jonathan, they said that there are moments where students need a moment to reflect and to decide what is right and what is wrong, what is happening in the particular situation and how they react, something that was reinforced by Angela in her particular example in her school. So now let me just say, David, I don't know if it is okay or if we can just move on with the next activity.
Absolutely. So we cannot just watch this advertisement on this other super important resource we wanted to share with you, so we can continue with the very last section, and then that would be it. So let's continue.
All right. So,
ECO stands for English for Colombia, and it is an educational radio program designed to promote English language learning while exploring the cultural wealth of our country. It is designed for kids and presented by kids as well. Irene, Maxi, and Ramon are in charge. Throughout the program, they share their life stories, fun adventures, and interactions with other characters as they practice English. Remember to visit eco.colombiaaprende.edu.co to access other Eco Kids resources.
Going to just recap. And in order to recap, what I did was I brought you a very, very simple test. I know that you're going to be answering yes or no, but I'm going to help you with this directly. So it is true or false. The first sentence says, to be a leader, you have to believe that everybody has a talent. So very quickly, T or F. And I'm going to ask, I think we have the time to do that. So David, I'm going to be with you all the time. So what do you think? Actually, T or F?
Well, in that case, I would say true for the first one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody has a talent. Yes. The next one, effective communication is fundamental to form new leaders.
Absolutely true.
True. Only a
say.
few students can be leaders. Most have to be followers.
I'd go with false in this case.
False. Yeah. Everybody can be a leader. Yeah. So that there is no question about that. Interaction patterns allow us to identify how students use languages and how they show leadership.
That's true as well.
Absolutely true. Yes. A leader always goes in the front line, showing the way.
Well, somehow, yes, true, I would say.
Yeah, but not always. You can be in front, or you can be on one side, or you can go behind, depending on your leadership style. So, it is yes and no. Yes. Working in pairs is great to learn about respect and the values of others.
Absolutely true, I'd say.
Yes. In the language class, you can talk about any topic. This is why you can use this opportunity to promote quality leadership.
True, I'd say.
Absolutely true, sir. And in order to promote leadership, you need to know what styles you and your students have.
I would say true as well.
Absolutely true. Yes, thank you. Well, that's the idea, and you helped me very well, and I'm sure that people in the audience did something similar. So remember, strategy number 1: discover your leadership style. Strategy number 2: determine what your context requires. Strategy number 3: promote leadership in the classroom. But please do this with your students. They should be at the core of what we do. I would like to finish with this that saying that to inspire people, don't show them your superpowers, show them their powers. David, over to you, and thank you very much.
Okay, Rick, thank you very much indeed. It was a wonderful masterclass. Just to finish this session, I got a couple of things to say. First of all, do not forget to register, as we said, right there on the chat box. You'll find the link. Also, do not forget to visit eco.colombiaaprende.edu.co. You will find some really wonderful resources right there that you can start using in your classes right now. And just to conclude, we're going to go with a question from the audience, Rick. Aura Estela Guzman says, how to reflect with students from 6th grade if they don't use the language?
Good. That would be a good excuse. They don't need to use the language all the time. You can give them situations with pictures, and they can just point at the pictures. That could be one of the ideas. But the second thing is, if you're talking about reflection, use simple language, use language that they can understand. And if not, it is completely okay to use the mother tongue.
Thank you very much indeed, Rick. As we are aware of time, we are just concluding this masterclass. Once again, I want to thank our participants this afternoon, our teachers, Angela, Paola, Jonathan, and of course also Rick. We are also delighted to conclude this program of masterclasses this way. It was a total of 15 masterclasses that we had as part of this program. As we said earlier, more than 40,000 people views we had throughout the different master classes. So as these master classes were recorded, you can watch them whenever you want. We've got this amazing collection of master classes that you can check whenever you want. So once again, thank you very much. So teachers, thank you for participating in this master class.
Goodbye, and thank you again. Thank you, Angela, Paola, and Jonathan, David, and Ministry of Education. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you all for the
invitation.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.